Welcome to the Daily Agenda. Interesting evening and a huge development. It might not seem like it, but in actual fact it is. You'll understand why in due course. On the 15th of November 2025, just 3 days ago, the British National Party became an active political party again, launching a Twitter news service and also, for the first time in years, published a new page on its website to announce it was back in business. I wonder what could have forced all of that to happen. Oh, well, just 6 weeks ago, we announced a plan to retake control of the British National Party, didn't we? And phase one of it is now complete, because phase one, the objective of phase one, was to force the British National Party to become an active political party again. Of course, it's all a public relations stunt by Jefferson and Walker at this stage. However, phase two is now about to begin. So what I want you to do is join the British National Party, quite simply. Join the British National Party in your droves. If you want to retake control of the BNP and turn it into an active, successful political party again, you've got to join. You've got to support it and you've got to fund it. And ultimately, we've got to force Walker and Jefferson to resign and relinquish control of the party and hand it over to us. And that is not going to be an easy task. That is going to be the most difficult part of the entire objective. However, I'm perfectly confident that it can be done. Now, I seem to remember last week, Gowlighter Collett, Mark Collett to you, that is. I call him Gowlighter Collett just to mock him, because that's what he deserves. He was slagging me off, slating me on his silly little news channel, and calling me every name under the sun from a safe distance, obviously. This is what Collett does. He's renowned for it. Saying the BNP will never become an active political party again. It couldn't be done. He was lying to everyone, meaning me. I was selling you red herrings. I've never sold a red herring in my entire life. In fact, never even seen one, to tell you the truth. And 48 hours after he opened his big, grandiose, narcissistic mouth again, the British National Party became active again, after 10 years, effectively, of doing absolutely nothing other than collecting wills. Now, this is an interesting point in itself. As we've been studying these bequests made to the BNP, including the legal mire they got themselves into in 2013 over a BNP member who left them nearly £400,000, and it ended up in the courts. And to be honest with you, I would say nearly all of those bequests are contentious legally. However, that said, let me make something perfectly clear. We're not going to accept any public liability that Walker and Jefferson have accrued. Well, absolutely not. That debt is theirs. They've had millions out of this. Millions out of it. They've done absolutely nothing for nationalism whatsoever. They've totally and utterly stagnated the BNP, made it redundant, took it off the political hemisphere completely, and made it completely and utterly a laughingstock. A laughingstock to the extent that the clowns on the Lotus Eaters, I've been saying for the last 2 to 3 years, oh, well, at least we've seen off the BNP threat. No, you haven't. No, you haven't at all. The BNP threat has not been seen off, and we're going to prove that. And the centre-right, of course, will be eating their own words within at least 2 years. That is the plan. And so what I have to say to Jefferson and Walker is that if you relinquish control of the British National Party to us, then we'll just forget about the bequests, because ultimately the whirlwind of karma heading their way will deal with them. Karma always comes back, always catches up with these people, and it will catch up with them. Absolutely right. All we want is the British National Party, quite frankly. Though it may be an empty shell financially, we can rebuild that and restructure it completely. Walker and Jefferson have only been interested in money, collecting wills. These dodgy forged signatures are perfectly clear. How they ever got away with that one is absolutely astonishing in truth. But what we're prepared to do is to let them walk away into the dark night, as it were, with all the loot they've robbed from foolish people, I might add. You see, my attitude is probably different than yours. You know, yes, it's wrong what they did, But I take the view that if people were foolish enough to actually fall for this scam, then look, if somebody approaches you in the street and says, look, give me 50 grand and I promise you I will do X, Y, or Z with this 50 grand and I'll give you 100 grand back tomorrow, and you give them 50 grand, then you're just asking to be robbed, aren't you? And that's the attitude I take on it, quite frankly. It's most unfortunate, and that money should have been used for the British National Party and for nationalism full stop, but it wasn't, was it? It's gone off into a criminal syndicate, for want of a better description, and all we want is rid of Walker and Jefferson. End of. And then the British National Party can be transformed. Of course, we don't want any of their dodgy members either. We don't want any of their dodgy members that went along with this organised criminality. They can go as well. But first and foremost, it requires a large surge in nationalists joining the British National Party. Then we can put them on the spot and demand to know when the next AGM is. Then we can really put them on the spot and begin the toppling process. Nothing they can do about it. They think they can, I assure you. We're not going to publish details of strategy and tactics on social media so that Jefferson and Walker can know exactly what we're doing, because that's just not going to happen. That's what stupid people do. That's what stupid people like Mark Collett do, because they're bloated with their ego and arrogance. And it always comes back to bite them, doesn't it? Like his idle boasts last week about me, and just look now. Humiliated himself, hasn't he? But then, at the end of the day, you always have to be patient when dealing with clowns like Collett, because every time they open their mouth, they end up humiliating themselves. And as for Fraulein Towler, well, of course, she's a proven incurable liar anyway. So none of these people will be welcome in a British National Party that we take control of. We're not having any of these neo-Nazis, these Hitler-Sims, these Mosleyites, and all the other crank magnets and cranks that the BNP attracted in the past. They're staying in the contagion colony, okay? That's where they will be forever, in their shitty, failed little groups. We're trying to do something completely different. My vision for the British National Party is to transform it into an active political party that bears no resemblance whatsoever to what it was under John Tyndall or Nick Griffin. I absolutely guarantee you. And I'm not going to tell anyone exactly what's going to happen for obvious reasons. These things have to be kept secret. It's called operational security. I'm not going to announce it to the whole world, am I now? But you can be absolutely certain, yes, we have big plans for the British National Party. And first and foremost, as I said, and I reiterate, we need you, nationalists, now that phase one has succeeded, having been told it could never succeed. Well, I always knew it would succeed, because I knew exactly how to do it. I know exactly how to play Jefferson and Walker, and that's what happened. And they walked straight into the trap that's been set for them. Now it's time for phase two. And in phase two, I need as many of you people to join the British National Party as possible, and to do it as soon as possible, whenever you can. And then we can begin phase two. And phase two will be to put them on the spot with an AGM. And there we can, how can I put it? Record everything. Yes, that's right. We will record everything. Every single question put to them. We will put them to the spotlight or the searchlight of such humiliation they won't want to hold on to the British National Party, I assure you. And Jefferson and Walker can bring in whatever clowns they think can intimidate us. That won't work, because I'll just bring in even more people to totally and utterly swamp them, counterbalance them. That's the way it's going to be, and it's not going to be any other way. So this is what I'm saying is, phase one has succeeded. Having been told it would never succeed, it has succeeded, and I knew it would succeed. Now it's time for all of us working together to make phase two succeed. And in phase two, we will put them well and truly into a strategic stranglehold, and we'll put them on the spot, under the broad daylight of social media with everything recorded at an AGM, and we will force them to give us the answers that we demand. And we're not going to publish a list of those questions either, and those issues. They're just going to be sprung upon them. End of. and we're going to force them out of the party. That is the only objective that we have here. And so anyone who says that, this can't succeed, well, they said that about phase one. Well, it's time to make phase two succeed. And I believe in phase two. By the end of phase two, we can force Jefferson and Walker out of the party. I don't intend to have either of them anywhere near the British National Party. And any bequests that may be outstanding, then we're going to have take a close look at those as well. Because if they're in the name of Clive Jefferson, stashed in his mother-in-law's will in Cumbria, as I suspect they probably are, then there's probably a sniff, most likely, a very strong stench of criminality hanging over those bequests as well. So it's entirely up to them. Walk or get pushed. That's the way it's going to be. Walk away, Adam Walker. I walk away, Adam Walker. Yes, it's all in the name, isn't it? Take Jefferson with you, even though you've been his patsy in a criminal enterprise all of these years, and we'll just forget you ever existed. Yeah? And we'll just transform the British National Party into something that resembles very much like Marine Le Pen in France, although it will never support Israel and Zionism. I trust that's perfectly clear. And it will be wholly committed to a white supermajority, a mass remigration, and ending immigration. Just as it says on the dailyagenda.uk website. Okay? You can see a very strong flavour of what we've got in mind on the dailyagenda.co.uk website. So, yes, absolutely. And for those who didn't read the book, Patriot Games, in which I explained why the centre-right has to be stopped and its organised criminality, which is, it's arguable whether Jefferson and Walker have been bigger criminals than the centre-right, but I think the centre-right just nudge it by quite a few million, actually. So I'll post the link to that in the top right-hand corner of this podcast, and you can go and get yourself a copy of it and read the exact details of why we need to stop the centre-right, and this is one of the ways in which we're doing it. So when they say, oh, we've seen off the BNP threat, no, they haven't. No, they didn't. Absolutely not. A new dawn is breaking. I suggest you wake up early and watch the new dawn rise with us. Thank you for tuning in.